The president.
We have more from President's State of the Nation address, including a disclosure that 17.7 billion cedis have so far been spent on the nation's fight against COVID-19 pandemic.
We provided nearly 5 million households and over 10 million people with electricity and water subsidies at the time they were most needed. In all, data from the Ministry of Finance tells us 4.6% of GDP has been spent in containing the pandemic since 2020.
We have reactions of that and more here on Top Story, brought to you by Vodafone. Thanks for staying with us here on Top Story, brought to you by Vodafone. Together we can. Well, tonight, President Akufo-Addo has incurred the wrath of the minority in Parliament when he claimed today during his delivery of the State of the Nation address that his government has done more in the area of roads infrastructure than any government in Ghana's history.
It is in the road sector that we have registered the greatest infrastructure achievement. I know that the word unprecedented is often used with careless abandon in our public discourse, but I use it carefully and purposefully. In the 5 years of my government, so far, more roads have been built, improved, and upgraded than at any equivalent period under any government in the history of Ghana. Some 10,885 kilometers of new roads have been constructed in these 5 years. Let me mention, Mr. Speaker, that yesterday it was my honor and great pleasure to have commissioned the Tamale interchange. The first such interchange in the northern sector of our country, which the people of Tamale gladly celebrated. I considered it to be a most satisfying birthday present. We intend to continue with the building of roads around the country to accelerate the opening up of our country.
President Akufo-Addo there. Well, the NDC minority has been tearing into the president's claim. Listen to ranking member on the Roads Committee in Parliament, Governor Kwame Agbodza.
This is the record of what the president caused his road minister to publish as data on road projects they have undertaken from 2017 to 2021. The first page talks about the regional breakdown. Then the third page talks about the breakdown. Let's read it. Total road program is what? 4,200 kilometers. Out of that, asphaltic overlay, 1,400. Construction, that is the only road that they've contracted from scratch, is 68 kilometers. The other one, graveling and re-graveling, 900 kilometers. Partial reconstruction, 139 kilometers. Reconstruction, the 90 kilometers. Rehabilitation, 830 kilometers. Resealing, spot improvement, 139 kilometers. Total in this document published by the government is 4,230 kilometers.
This is May 2021.
May 2021. So they constructed 6,000 kilometers. In 7 months? If you read this document from the president, which talks about 4,200 kilometers, and he stands in front of the people and says he's constructed 10,000 kilometers, what word will you use to describe the president's comment? No, you have.
No, you tell me. A liar.
The president
He's a liar.
lied.
I mean, he's the president of the state.
The president of the state should be telling the truth. How do you publish this? You publish this 4,000, and guess what? This includes pothole patching. The only road they've done, apart from asphaltic overlay, is 68 kilometers. Where from the 10,000 kilometers? Mr. President, you wanted us to come together with you, but I don't want to be with you as a liar. You lied, Mr. President. The roads you said you've worked on, not constructed, worked on, which include re-graveling, graveling, asphaltic overlay, it's only 4,200 kilometers. Mr. President, how do you want the whole country, including pastors or comfort Muslims, to be with you in your game of lying? We cannot be with you. You lied about it.
So perhaps you can say he misled. I mean, if what you're saying is
my brother,
true.
don't find
misinformation.
my brother.
But lying is
my
quite
brother.
a strong word.
Listen, in this country, when you are black, you are black. When you are white, you are white. If somebody knows the truth and says otherwise, how do you call the person?
Right. So, so the Tamale interchange. Not an interchange.
Listen, hold on. No. The Tamale interchange. I think. Hold on. Oh well, the dictionary definition of an interchange is anytime there's a grade the separation, you can call it an. I can give them to them, but don't forget, Tamale interchange is one of the smallest of the phase 1 of the Sino Hydro project, all of which should have been completed by 2020. Out of the 10 projects, only one. If you have you set an exam, and there's a 2 hours exam, and after 4 hours you've answered one question, what do you tell the person? What bunk?
Well, so that's the ranking member on the Roads and Transport Committee, Governs Kwame Agboja there, reacting immediately after the president's delivery of the State of the Nation address. Well, he will join me shortly. But first, let me bring in a member of a Joy Research Desk, Kofi J. We've been digging into this, trying to find answers, because we know that the president says it's 10,885 kilometers of road and that has been constructed over the period. The minority we're also hearing are talking about 4,200 kilometers as of May 2021. What have you been able to find out? What do we know?
Well, Emefa, we've also been doing our own checks. So let's start with Ghana's total road network. So according to the ministry's own 2022 program-based budget, the country's total road network was estimated at 78,401 kilometers, out of which 14,583 kilometers are trunk roads, 15,462 kilometers are urban roads, while 48,357 kilometers are feeder roads. Now, according to the same document, as of September 2021, governments had issued commencement certificates for the implementation of 84 critical regional and interregional road projects with estimated length of 237.51 kilometers, and it cost approximately 7.84 billion Ghana cedis. So according to the same ministry, between 2017 and 2020, 1,005 kilometers worth of asphalt overlay works have been completed in some selected areas of the country. So also, the first phase of the Sino Hydro deal, Emefa, was to yield 432 kilometers of roads and 2 interchanges. So now, if you add all of these, it does not tally with the 10,875 fresh roads announced, by the president.
Okay.
But now, Emefa, remember that the information we have only captured data from 2017 to September 2021. So to be fair, there isn't readily available data on what has transpired from November 2021 to March 2022. So the government would have to provide enough evidence to back this claim.
Okay, so the president tells us that it's 10,885 kilometers. From what you're also gathering from 2017 to September 2021, what actually is the figure for the avoidance of doubt?
It's around 4,000.
4,000 kilometers.
4,000 kilometers.
Okay, so we're hearing from the minority saying that it's 4,200 kilometers.
Exactly.
President says it's 10,885 kilometers. So is it possible that we could construct up to 6,000 kilometers of road within 3 months?
Well, that would be a question for the
president
or the
to
government
answer.
to answer.
Okay, well, we're still working the lines to reach the roads ministry as well as the information ministry, amongst others, to get some form of answers for this. But we've been hearing from the ranking member of the Roads and Transport Committee of Parliament, Kofi Eje. Thank you so much for that work. He's with our research desk, and more of that also on myjoyonline.com. But let me bring in Mr. Gavins Kwame Agboja. We're grateful for your time here on Top Stories. So, well, we've been checking the figures, though. But the concern, I'm sure you heard my colleague Kofi also mention that the president may have superior data that may not be available to you and I, correct?
The data that the president should have is data that you can easily work out. If for 4 years you said you have worked on, and let's be clear, when they said it's worked on, as your colleague have actually pointed out, it includes construction of roads. And in the data available from the ministry, and that was from the last state, they had the media press that the ministry had last 2021, they captured 68.5 kilometers as construction. That is new road. That is, there wasn't any road there. You went and did that. And Asphatico Valley, 1,463. I concede that figure, 1,463, today, between the day the media press was done and today, would have been more. So I can even give them even 1,600 kilometers, even 2,000 kilometers, which is actually overestimation. Graveling and re-graveling, spot improvement. So how on earth does the president stand in front of Parliament, the people's representative, and conjure a figure of 10,000 kilometers? It did not happen. In fact, even if you take for instance, anytime you see a government come into power, and let's say a project is completed in 2017, Emefa, the fact is that project would have been in existence before they came to power. So they just inherited and completed it, because by our history, it's not very easy for you to start a road project and finish in 12 months. It is just difficult. So our difficulty is why the president would deliberately put out this figure when just few weeks ago, even in Parliament, the Minister for Roads and Highways, my senior colleague, Honorable Amwakwata, gave a breakdown of the 4,200 and something kilometers of road that they have done. Yes, I can concede some of them are roads 0.05 kilometers. I don't even know what that means. So that data is available in Parliament, and that data was provided to Parliament just in February. So where did the president get his figures from? He cooked it. It doesn't exist. I must say that, look, if anybody says there's nothing being done on our roads, nobody can say that. Right from Nkrumah time, you can see road projects going on. Yes, you can see some interchanges, let's say from the Independence Square towards the beach road and other things, which were part of the CDB loan agreement with the Chinese that President Mills was working on, which we need to cap off. And then they came and resuscitated it. So we will see one or two interchanges from between, Independence Square and the beach road. Yes, that is true. We will see the completion of the Obechebi Lampe, and then we can see that some asphaltic overlay is going on in Accra, and only few places. For instance, if you take that document, The only place in Volta region that they are laying asphalt is or laid asphalt was in Hawkwood.
But Mr. Abuja, listening to you, at least you admit that there's a lot of work that's been done in that aspect, because even the president mentions that what they have done in terms of road infrastructure, unprecedented. No government has been able to achieve that. But my concern really is that you have not provided any counter evidence to what the president has provided. Well, you mentioned that the roads minister gave some information to Parliament, amongst others, but the president is giving you up-to-date information in terms of what they've been able to achieve, and you doubt it, but you do not give any counter evidence.
Emefa, I'm telling you, if the MPP, President Akufo-Addo, have data on 10,800 kilometers of roads they have completed in the last 5 years, let him put it out. And I can say for a fact, if he is talking about graveling, I'll tell him that is not construction.
But what is it? What is it?
Yes, if you do regraveling on a bad road, it improves the road. I understand. But the understanding is that he said we have completed. How do you go and do regraveling and call it we have completed the road? Because it is just a maintenance program. So on that list, the only thing you can tick as having done is 68.5 kilometers, and the asphaltic overlays that are going on, that could easily be 1,500 kilometers. So where from that one? So you can try to be nice to the president by saying he's got a data that we don't have. But I can tell you, he ain't got no data. What he said, sadly, I don't have any other word to describe it but to say it's a lie. If what I've said is not correct, my respected chairman is on the line, as I'm told. Let him provide data of the 10,000 kilometers.
Well, I'm not being nice to the president, like you're saying, but I have heard from the president today, and you are giving me a counter argument to what he's saying. You say the figures that he's put out is inaccurate. I was hoping that as a ranking member on that committee, you'll be able to provide a counter, data as to what he's put out today.
I've already told you, in this country, do you want me to give you, if I were to tell you the asphaltic overlay is 1,600, how are you going to take that figure? You're going to tell me, under what authority did you provide that? But fortunately for you and I, the president authorized his Minister for Roads and Highways to provide that data just in February to Parliament as an official document. And fortunately, it's not like economic data that can be cooked virtually. When you build roads, people see them. So I am saying that if we're talking about, okay, we have awarded projects across the country worth 10,000 kilometers. However, let me tell you why the president is so ridiculous. Not too long ago, he told us that by the end of a certain period, about 6,000 kilometers of road will be built. In fact, that information is contained in the last state of by Meet the Press done on the 23rd of May 2021 by the Minister of Roads and Highways. How did we will work on 6,000 kilometers equate to we have completed 10,000 kilometers? Is that not ridiculous?
Well, so for you, it's impossible to do that within 3 months.
No,
That's
don't say
6,000.
it's impossible. The president said we should be citizens, not spectators. Joy FM knows the president lied. 10,000 kilometers completed doesn't exist. He basically cobbled together routine maintenance work, as how do you call it, sport improvement, graveling, pothole patching, and cooked a figure called 10,800. It does not exist.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, we were not able to raise Kennedy Osenyako, your chairman of that committee.
He's probably going to the president to collect the data.
We're grateful for your time. Mr. Gavins Kwame Agboja there is the ranking member on the Roads and Transport Committee of Parliament there, joining us on the claim made by the president today during his presentation of the State of the Nation address. A figure he puts out, 10,875 kilometers of road constructed or completed within the period period, and the minority, and you've also heard Joy Research Desk also put out the evidence or what it is that we've been able to discover in terms of the period 2017 to September 2021. It's just about 4,000 kilometers of road constructed according to the figures that we have. Well, that's not the only area we are focusing on tonight. The president also disclosed today in his address the total amount of money spent so far in containing COVID-19.
It took an unbudgeted 1.9 billion cedis to ensure that our children and teaching staff went back and stayed in school safely. Some, including regrettably a few in this honorable house, went as far as to accuse the government of trying to kill Ghanaian children when we introduced the controlled school reopenings. I might add here that in some countries, school closures have lasted for 20 months and children are only now going back to school. Our children did not lose a single academic year. We provided nearly 5 million households and over 10 million people with electricity and water subsidies at the time they were most needed. In all, data from the Ministry of Finance tells us that an amount of 17.7 billion cedis, 4.6% of GDP, has been spent in containing the pandemic since 2020.
Well, staying on the area of health, he also admitted that the government was overly ambitious in its expectation that its agenda to build 111 hospitals across the country will be completed in 18 months.
If government cannot complete a project that they inherited,
well, I'll bring you that President sound shortly here on Top Story. Well, we'll be hearing from the ranking member on Parliament's Health Committee, Kwabena Mintah Kando, shortly. But let's first listen to the President.
Mr. Speaker, I have to report that like all major construction projects, it is evident that the initial schedule we gave for the completion of Agenda 111 was overly ambitious. Identifying suitable sites around the country, for example, has turned out to be even more problematic than had been anticipated. I am now able to say that a great deal of the preparatory work has now been completed, and work has started at 87 of the 111 sites. I've been assured that preliminary work on the remaining 24 sites is ongoing. We have every intention of seeing this project through to its successful end, which will enable me to commission all 111 hospitals before I leave office on 7th January 2025. Mr. Speaker, we have saved lives and fared much better than we had feared and the experts predicted. But the consequences of lockdowns, border and business closures, and unplanned expenditures have combined to have a devastating impact on our economy.
President Akufo-Addo there on the Agenda 111 and how that target was overly ambitious. Ranking member on the Health Committee in Parliament, Kwabena Mintah Kando, joins me on the line. We're grateful for your time here on Top Story. So listening to the President today whilst in Parliament admit that target of completing 111 hospitals across the country within 18 months was overly ambitious. I'm sure you would want to, applaud the President for his honesty, won't you?
Emefa, clearly, the President was preparing the minds of Ghanaians towards failure. This is clearly what the President was doing. All this while you know that consistently we have been criticizing the Agenda 111 project. And it is rather unfortunate that what the President says out there is always different from what they bring before us in Parliament. Let me start with the 2021 budget. In the 2021 budget, it was clearly stated that 101 hospitals had been awarded. That was the language used in the budget. Awarded. Now, in the 2022 budget, the language then changed to cadastral plans being ready. This is clear deceit. And you see, Emefa, a president or any public officer, before you speak, you should have done analysis of the situation you are going to speak about. You cannot award a project on contract without even knowing the site in the first place. In the 2022 budget, an amount of 518 million Ghana cedis was awarded to Agenda 111. You ask yourself, how many hospitals can 518 million build? Clearly, there is no commitment whatsoever to it. Because if you ask yourself, what is the source of funding? What is the source of funding of these projects? Nobody knows. Again, the whole project is shrouded in secrecy. You know, your outfit has written to the Ministry of Health seeking some information. And the ministry, which is clearly in charge of the health sector, writes back to you and say they have no information on Agenda 111. So clearly, Emefa, there are a lot of questions to be asked and answered as far as Agenda 111 is concerned. The president is only preparing our minds that, look, I cannot construct 111 hospitals. Because where are we coming from?
Well, I did not hear the president say that he
Listen,
cannot.
that is
Well,
what I'm
he
going to
tells you
explain
that
to you.
he's
Listen,
going to make sure it's done by the end of his tenure. He's
listen,
revised
Emefa,
the
you will
completion
understand where
schedule.
I am coming from. So if you are patient with me, you understand. Look, the man started with 88 hospitals in the year 2020, and they told us that by the end of 2021, they would have constructed 88 hospitals. Assuming that was even overly ambitious, didn't the president learn any lessons before even it was upgraded to 1111? They didn't do any due diligence. What is the president telling us? When they started this project, didn't they tell us that they were going to use between 12 months to 18 months to complete? Why is it that now the president is saying that before the end of his office, so that after the 18 months, if the 111 hospitals have not been constructed and you ask him, then you come back and tell you, oh, I said before the end of my tenure. But listen to what is going to happen with regards to Agenda 111. What is going to happen is that because they have promised the good people of this country, they are going to struggle to they are going to finish 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 of the hospitals. Then they will come and do campaign with it in 2024. If you go to the other side, you will see some material, sand here, gravels here, blocks there. So when you ask them in 2024, they will say, oh, they are ongoing. So give us another opportunity and let's come and complete them. Because clearly, the report that has been submitted to the House, we don't even know the source of funding.
Well, we'll have to leave it here. Mr. Kwabena Mintah Kando is the ranking member on Parliament's Health Committee. That's it for Top Story, brought to you by Vodafone.